How does that sound? That should be better. My apologies. All right, so let's start again. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay. Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A live stream. It's December 26th, so Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays to you if I haven't greeted you yet. And we're doing Competition Espresso. Okay, good. I'm glad it's better. Sorry, I'm glad you mentioned that because I would have been sitting here the whole time talking, and never have realized that I forgot to set one of the things on the switcher. Anyway, today we're talking Competition Espresso because on the last live stream for Coffee Q&A, I announced that I had managed to get myself a position in the qualifying rounds for the United States Barista Championship. And today we're going to talk about the Competition Espresso that I'm planning to use for the championship or for the qualifying rounds. One of the things I was saying is that in my role as a judge, as an international rep for World Coffee events, I see competitors worldwide spending incredible amounts of money on high-scoring coffees and typically being disappointed because they didn't get the scores that they felt. So, and I get that, you're a competitor and you're spending all this crazy money, or you're the company supporting that competitor. Oh, thank you, Grumpy. Appreciate that. And, you spend all this money to buy this high-scoring, exquisite coffee, and then you don't get the scores you want, so you're disappointed. And I get that. I do understand that. However, the key to competitions is that as the competitor, you must convey to the judges, accurately convey to the judges what they're going to experience with your espresso. And of course, it has to be positive. So, for example, if you decide that you're going to use commercialized coffee that has a lot of defects, so you're saying, okay, you're going to taste tar and diesel, rubber, and things like that, and you may have those in that cup, and it may be perfectly accurate. Those are not geared towards specialty coffee, so that would not get a high score. But if you can tell the judges they're going to have experience of, kumquats and raspberries, and they get that, then the potential for your score to be high is much better. So that's kind of what we're going to go through. So today we're going to talk about is the espresso that I'm planning on using. And to be honest with you, compared to other competitors' espresso, the espresso that I'm planning on using is not that special in the fact that I'm not going out to buy crazy coffees. I'm not calling my friends around the world and being like, hey, what kind of exquisite, crazy coffee do you have? Let me buy it, please. I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I'm a roaster, green coffee bar and blender, and I do it all the time. And I'm just going to use the espresso that we sell here at Spiro Coffee because that's what I like and that's what I believe in. So we're going to use that. And today's coffee really is going to be a blend of two different coffees. Now, why two? It could be two, it could be more. It just depends on the year, on what's available, what we have in inventory, things like that. It's really more of an approach to a style of coffee that we believe in. So for espresso, what I'm looking for an espresso is I'm talking about now for Spiro, right? So what I'm looking for in an espresso is one that delivers good body, not a lot of chocolate notes, some fruity notes, and then a nutty finish. That's really what I'm trying to gather for the espresso blend. And that's something that will be enjoyable to drink as a straight espresso, but also will stand up well with milk. So let's say in a cappuccino or a latte, I believe those flavors really translate well with the milk, holds up against it. And so you can still taste the espresso, even though that there's a lot of milk. So for example, if we're making a latte with 2 shots of espresso and 10 ounces of milk, you'll still get that good flavor of the coffee. It also and well with the cappuccino. Okay, good. So what do we have here? So this is what we call the Espresso 99. You can see our labeling on the bottom. This is actually says for the competition. And this is the coffee here. There's about, 3 or 4, 5 pounds of it at the moment. So like I said, I roasted this last week, and the idea is that we take the coffees, and the coffees that we're using here is a Guatemala coffee from the Huehuetenango region that is a washed coffee that gives us those chocolatey, good body, and a little bit of that nuttiness, right? And then we're also blending that with um, a natural processed coffee that I have from sourced from a little tiny farmer in the Comayagua district of Honduras. And their coffee is really kind of special. Nice little small farm, new farm, well, relatively new farm. It was new in 2016. And we went to visit there, I think in 2017, and beautiful little place. But they're a very small farmer, father and son, working working to their farm, trying to build something. They have wet processing there, but they don't have a dry mill. So that dry mill they have to take into Comayagua to actually go to one of the co-ops and have it dry milled and finished. But it's a natural processed coffee, sun dried, raised beds, 21 days, and then the other one is washed, 15-day drying, some on the patio, some in guardiolas, and nice coffees and not terribly expensive, right? Like the Huehuetenango goes up pretty good price. This one, a little bit more premium because smaller farm or one of our smaller projects, but really pretty coffees on their own. So the idea is to use that. And so what I'm using is a 70% washed from Guatemala, and then 30% of the natural Honduran. And why are we using that? Because that natural Honduran really has those nice berry notes. And we just want to give a little bit of berry to it, not a tremendous amount, just to balance it out. So we want that balance of chocolate, fruit, and nuts, right? And then we're putting a pretty medium roast on it. As you can see, it's a pretty medium roast. So we roast this to about Celsius-wise. I think this one came out at 212. So 400 something, maybe 420. I like that medium roast because it really gives us that development of the Maillard reaction in the coffee to develop those sugars and really caramelize them and give us really nice flavor. So we're going to put that into our grinder. And for my setup here in the tasting lab, so here at the Sproastery, this is our tasting center where we do all of our tasting. Yeah, that makes sense. So for doing cuppings of our coffees and stuff like that, or evaluations of coffees for ourselves or for clients, a lot of that gets done here. It's set up for that. We've got room for cupping, a basic cupping. We've got a black tabletop here for grading coffees to really give us that contrast that we need to see for the green coffee. And anyway, we've got a little tiny espresso machine here. This is actually a La Valentina. It's an Italian-made espresso machine. Really great espresso machine that I've had. Wow, I've had this for about 20 years now. It's a battle horse. And I use this. This is the first machine I ever had and used it in a commercial setting. When we first started doing espresso, replaced this with the Linea 3 group from La Marzocco. This lived in my house for a while, and then it lived in a state of disassembly for a long time. And then we reassembled it and put it to work in here. And it doesn't work that often, but for what we're doing today, what we're doing a little testing, this is great. I also have a 2-group Linea that I really should use and set up to practice for the competition. And I probably should have done that already, but I'm a little bit lazy to do that. All right, so what are we going to be looking at? What are we looking at here? We are looking, before we pull the espresso, we're looking for our score sheet. This is actually a score sheet for the qualifying rounds. The difference with the qualifying rounds, the difference with the qualifying rounds versus the actual USBC main thing and the World Barista Championship is that you're only serving 2 drinks. And those 2 drinks, you're serving 4 of each of those 2. However, only 2 of the drinks will count towards your score. Because even though they have 4 judges, 2 of them are guest judges or judges in training. I don't really understand what they're doing there. It's a whole different. The United States competitions is really a whole different world than the level that I work at, and so I'm not totally in touch with what they do because they work on the regional levels, and I tend to work on the national levels of different nations. And so what we're looking for here, we have 2 categories. There's going to be espresso, and there's going to be signature beverage. really, we're just going to focus on the espresso for today's video. And this is what we have here. These are the different categories. You can find this online. If you punch in, I guess you're going to put your United States Barista Championship qualifying score sheets. This should come up in Google. If not, if you just look at the WBC, the World Barista Championship pages, you can find the regular score sheet because this section here is the same worldwide. Just for the espresso evaluation is the same, at least the criteria that we're looking for. So first things first, we have a yes or no for crema. We have 0 to 6 points for taste experience. We have 0 to 6 for accuracy of flavor descriptions, then tactile experience, and then accuracy of tactile descriptors. If you look at the previous video about this, where it says, I can't win, well, I really go more into detail about each of these categories, and then we look at the definitions and seeing what is the category looking for. So if you really want to understand that better, have a look at that video. But what today we're going to do is we're going to pull the espresso, see how it goes. I haven't actually put it in this machine yet, in this grinder. And as you can see, I'm using a pretty antiquated grinder now. This is the Mazzer Major. And the Mazzer Major is pretty old, but it's a battle tank. 83 millimeter flat burrs, high RPM speeds, really nice grind quality. And it's been a professional workhorse for many years. And a lot of places will still use this grinder. And what's really good about it is that it's a grinder that if you really want to work and understand your barista skills, this is a great grinder to go with because, if you're using the Mythos from Nova Simonelli or from or Victoria Duino, but that they use, I think they'll use it in the qualifying rounds, they're great grinders. However, it's fully automated. You really just turn a knob to adjust the grind speed, the grind setting, and that's it. You don't really understand how to dose, how to level, how to do all that work. You just have to adjust how much it'll dose. This, you have to control everything. You have to understand how much you're grinding, when to stop the grind, things like that. All right, so what we're going to do, this had the espresso in it before. It's, kind of set up to where it was. What we're going to do is we're going to see about fine-tuning it and seeing what kind of flavors we're going to get out of it, what kind of tactile flavors experience we're going to get out of the coffee, so we can figure out how to present those notes to the judges at the competition. So I'm going to grind through a little bit here just to purge out any of the old coffee that remains. As you can see, there's a little bit of hairs here from the brush that I was using to clean it earlier. So if you have any questions, but as we go along, let me know. I am trying to keep my eye on the computer that's over there so that I can see if you have any comments or questions, but feel free to ask and I will answer them as best as I possibly can. All right, so we're grinding a little bit. Make sure that your portafilter, so technical point, you want to make sure the portafilter is clean and dry. Any kind of residue here or leftover grounds inside your basket will count against you. That can't be right. That's about right. So what we're looking for is about 21 grams of coffee. That's the kind of style of espresso that I like. I'm just going to level it out, right? And then, can you see the tamping? Can't see the tamping. Let me turn this down a little bit here. Level it out. And then we're going to tamp. I'm just going to drop it down and make sure that it's nice and even on the flatness as far as level. And then give it a nice pressurized tamp with a slight twist. The twist is meant to polish. I'm going to dump off the excess like that. That gives us our little... Now this particular espresso machine is a vibratory pump. That's why you hear that. And also it's a heat exchanger. So the first couple of ounce or so is going to be superheated to a very high temperature. So we want to purge that a little bit before we start to pull our shot. So we're getting, it's taking a long time for it to even start. Actually, it's just starting to come out now. It's super slow, super thick. Let me see if I can get you closer in here. And as you can see, we're quite a bit into it right now, and almost nothing has come out. So what is that telling us? That's telling us that the coffee is too fine a grind. It's provided too much resistance against the water. So for the next attempt, we're going to coarsen the grind a bit to allow greater flow through the coffee bed. But in the meantime, I'm going to let it run until I think we should stop, and then give it a taste so that we have some place to start and to discuss. All right, we'll stop there. That's probably been a good minute or so, which is definitely too long. Sorry, I only have one camera today. Otherwise, and I don't have someone to help me switch. Now, as you can see, we had crema, right? So what are we looking for? Crema, yes or no? We're looking to make sure that there's crema present, which there is. We're also looking to make sure that there are no breaks in the crema, meaning that you cannot see the black coffee underneath. And this is quite successful in that realm. Now, volume is too low. We want to have a little more volume, but let's give it a taste. So here's the thing. If we talk about tactile, body is thin. It's a bit astringent. Sharp and a bit, not necessarily sharp, but definitely bright and acidic. So not a great example. Definitely not what we're looking for this espresso. We're going to have a look at the puck now. Now, this is something that the judges won't even bother with, but as someone that wants to understand the espresso that we're working with, we definitely want to see, and we're seeing there's really even resistance here, as you can see. Hopefully that's better. And there's good compaction, like it's super dry. And even if I'm pressing on it, you don't really see the indentation is harder to make. So that means that it's okay. Now here's something else to look at. So we see in here, you can see this little bit of oil that's right here. That is an indication of under extraction. We're still under extracting the coffee. We need to get better with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse it out. Let it dry for a moment. Pour this out. I like to reuse my cups because, it's just a lot of work to have to keep cleaning your cup all the time. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we had this issue now where the coffee was too tight, too fine. So we're going to coarsen up the grind, and I just moved it roughly three notches on here. Why? I'm really just doing that because that's kind of what I think would work. I don't know if that really will work, but so again, we're purging just a little bit to get the coffee out of the grinds, the burrs. And then now we're going to go back and dose some more coffee. See if I get you a better angle here. It's a little bit better. All right, so we're going to use this much coffee here. Flush, make sure it's all nice and clean. Oops. Oh, this is still going to be on the, this is still in the fine. We're going to have to coarsen it up a little more. I'm giving it a nice twist on this. And as you can see here, we're getting some, see this, there's a little bit of spray coming out here. What is, this is an indication of channeling and improper distribution. So I got to work a little bit more on that for this. But as you can see, this is the espresso. The crema is really pretty in the dark, in the fact that it's a dark espresso like that. But it will probably have taste issues that we will not like. So crema is good. I mean, it looks with like dark flecking and like, ooh, my goodness. So Braxton Jens, how are you? This is, yes, it is a Mazda Major. And we are using the espresso that I make for Spro, which is a blend, a 70-30 blend of washed coffee from Guatemala. This is the current blend. And 30% of a natural coffee from Honduras. Again, because of the extraction, it is still sharp. Although the change in the grind has given us, instead of that sharpness also gives way now to juiciness. Kind of like the juiciness you'd get from when you're eating those candies, those sour candies like Jolly Rancher type of candies, get that juiciness on your palate. That's the kind of juiciness I'm feeling. A little bit of that chocolate is starting to come out now. So we're on the right path. We just need to get, into the right spot for the espresso. Again, the puck looks clean. There was some channeling, although I don't really see any spots for the channeling in the puck itself. Yeah, we still have the extraction still is showing there. So again, when you're actually in the competition, you want to make sure that when you clean your puck, you clean your basket, you keep it really clean, because the technical judges are going to be diving in to have a look at your basket to see about that score. Now, a smarter competitor will actually show the judge the basket because it's easy points. All right, let's go back in here and have a look. Now, looking at this, I'm wondering, like, is it too coarse now? Like, it looks, the coarseness of the grind looks a little bit coarse to me, but we'll see. I may have adjusted too much. So what am I doing here? I'm also making sure that before I insert that the wings, the locking wings of the portafilter, as well as the rim of the basket, are clean. All right, let's pull another shot here. So Grockbeer is asking, I assume that two-fighter grind and slow flow is associated with over-extraction, but is it under-extracting due to channeling? It probably is doing some under-extracting due to channeling. However, as you can see with the way that it's flowing, it's still it's still too tight. So a lot of that is being reduced. And yeah, so it's really the only real way to truly understand what you're getting is to taste it. So that's why we always encourage people to taste all their espressos, especially like when we're training new baristas at Spro. We're making them taste everything because they need to see what is not ideal, and then they need to see what is ideal, as well as the progression to get to that point. And then Braxton Jen says, I made a micron adjustment ring that can print, oh, excellent. Excellent. I'd be interested in that, seeing that. All right, so here's our puck. A little bit of damage. I think I damaged it as we were talking. That's all right. We're going to continue on. So we're going to lock it in. This hitting it is a habit that I have from Arlinia. All right, this is much more ideal in my mind. Maybe a little bit on the fast side. That is fast. But that flow and that color, look at this color, like lovely coloration now. I'm a little bit of an old school guy, so I like this darker crema with some of that flecking. You know, what some people will call tiger striping. Now, I would say that's probably fast. Well, definitely fast. So let's see what happens. Better. Now, what we're getting, bright tones, and definitely the finish is nice and lingering now. Like that finish is lingering on. But it's missing some of the oomph, and I think that missing that oomph is because we don't have, because maybe now it's too coarse and it's going too fast, right? Like I would like to slow that down by maybe half. So while the other shots compared to this one, we're taking 4 to 5 times as long. What I want to do is make this shot last twice as long. All right, so I'm going to go over and try that again. One of the things that you should do when you're doing this kind of thing that I'm not really doing is spitting. You always want to spit when you're tasting a lot of coffee because otherwise you just start to get too much caffeine. And when we're testing stuff, we could be doing this for hours at a time. And like, so we're pulling, shot after shot after shot. So you want to be careful of that. So the puck looks okay. Like there's no obvious challenge. There's maybe a slight hole there, pinhole here. But I don't see that as anything untoward. Good resistance. Oh, and so we're stopping at this time. We stopped at the right moment. We got all the extraction up because, as you can see, the basket is clean. And so when you have a clean basket, that means that you have stopped the extraction at the right moment. Because if you under extract or you over extract, residual oils will remain. But if you stop at the sweet spot, residual oils will not remain. Now, whether it's over extracted or under extracted, it's up to you and your experience to determine by looking at like, okay, so that was too long or that was too short. All right, so we're close. Oh, Braxton, yeah, that'd be great to send me the file. Thank you. All right, so we're pretty close. What we're going to do, I think I'm going to fine it up just a hair. And this probably will get us most of the way there. Nice to see all of you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, that's too much. That's the nice thing about these. You can just kind of brush it back a little bit. All right, here's something to be careful about, and I was a little bit sloppy here. Notice this little spot here. That's a bit of wetness that came from the puck came from the tamper because I set it on a spot here on the counter that was wet, like drops here. You have to be, in an actual production environment, I would have to be wiping a lot more to make sure that that's not happening, but we're being a little bit sloppy today. My apologies. All right, let's start again with another extraction. All right, that's good. That's a good start. That's a good timing for the start. Let's come around here and have a look. Yeah, this is about the right time. We're getting a little bit of channeling here. We're gonna do better with that. That's bad. Okay, that's bad. That's bad. That's not good. That's not ideal. That wasn't ideal. But we got some bubbles in the crema. We're just gonna tap those out. But the crema is intact and whole, so we're not losing anything. Oh, we definitely have lost a little bit of the depth because of that channeling that was happening. But the body is good. Oh yeah, email address. Just send it to me at oh gosh, what is a good email address? Actually, send it to me at caphillcoffee@gmail.com. CAPHILL coffee CUFFEE at Gmail. All right, let's do one more. Oh, that last sip, getting a bit of the berry flavors coming out. That's quite pleasant. That's definitely in the realm where we want to go to. I think we're going to stay with this grind setting and pull one more shot to see. Oops. Because I think that the only thing that's off was my. No, that was. The thing that was off was my bad distribution technique that time, as evidenced by the channeling that was happening. So we're gonna go back. Plus, there was also that little dot on the puck, the dot of water. All right, that should be good. I should use more of these like fancy tools, like the OCD and all that kind of stuff, but all right, let's have a look here. Okay, starting to come out. That's a good amount of time. Good. Oh, it's looking good. It's going to come together. Yeah, it looks like it's coming together. Nice. We're getting some nice coloration on the crema. I like that. Oh, we're going to stop now. Oh, yeah. That's definitely more of what I'm interested in right here. All right, let's see now. Let's see. Oops. Okay, so we've got good crema, so we would say yes for that. Now, we're looking for taste and tactile experience. Oh, good mouthfeel. Just really filling the palate. Initial notes of like passion fruit type of acidity. Nice medium plus body. Like a medium plus to full bodied. Nice like mouthfeel, like it coats your mouth and really rounds it out and feels good. There is brightness to the coffee, but it's balanced. It's a balanced brightness. The chocolate that notes that I'm really going for are a little bit diminished. Like I'll be honest with you. So there's not too much chocolate, but nice and brightness, kind of like a sour cherryness to it. Yeah, the body is definitely full. Lingering aftertaste. I'm actually getting more of a bright aftertaste on this shot. More kind of like a crisp apple on the finish. Yeah, that's quite interesting. And so here's the thing. So like the idea for me to taste the coffees, and I'll be tasting this coffee over the next several weeks as we get closer to the competition because we want to be able to describe it accurately. And really, at the end of the day, you really got to taste it on the stage before you do your presentation because that's the only time you're really going to know what it really will taste like. Like whenever we do, like for example, let's say we do tasting notes for coffees, we're doing those weeks in advance, right? So, it may or may not be the same by the time you get to using it or by the time that we take this to competition. But it is syrupy. It is sweet. There's a nice sweetness, especially now that it's cooled down a little bit. Maybe that's something to do. Maybe I can instruct the competitor or the judges to wait. Here's your espresso. This is the crema. And then let them wait before they taste it to let that sweet syrupiness come out. I wonder if I could actually show the judges their espresso, take it away, to evaluate the crema. Or you know what? It's 4 points. Are those 4 points for the crema even necessary? Like, of course they're necessary, especially if you're like, if you lose the championship by 4 points, that's a painful experience. But I'm not expecting to advance, so I'm not that worried about it. Actually, in my experience with competitions, I've never really been worried about winning. I'm more about exploring and experience and giving experience to the judges. So I wonder if I could do that, show them the crema, or just walk away from the crema points completely. 4 points, that's not really a big thing in my world. Give them the espresso after it's cooled down so that they really can get a better flavor for it. That might be something. And then the thing is that the one thing I want to do is taste this because the other beverage in the competition is their signature beverage. So you have to create a signature beverage using coffee with any other ingredient except no alcohol. And I have something very specific in mind, but now I'm trying to think about when you're tasting espresso, what will be a complementary flavor. So right now there's 2 flavors. There's the espresso, and then there's one component that I'm planning that I think will be just like if it's in the back of my mind, like if I can do this in the way that I imagine, I think it's just going to be killer as far as a presentation goes. But now it's a time to think about like what goes with, like, let's say white chocolate, for example. If the flavor is white chocolate and espresso, what is a complementary flavor to that? To what I've said here, like a little bit of this green apple finish, sour cherry, passion fruit-like acidity early on. Those are the things I need to think about over the next week. And what time are we at? Oh, 3:56. All right, good. I'm going to say that's good for now. Thank you very much for tuning in. Just going over Competition Espresso. So if you're thinking about your Competition Espresso, think about this. You don't need to get the most expensive coffee in the world. What's important is that you understand the coffee and you can tell the judges what they're going to experience. Remember, these are the main things. The judges are asked, the competition asks the judges, what is your taste experience? So what did you experience while you were tasting the coffee? Conversely to that, they're asking accuracy of flavor descriptors given. So how well does the competitor, you, know your coffees? Meaning, if I tell, the competitor has to tell the judge what they're going to experience as far as flavor. and what they're going to experience as far as tactile balance or tactile experience. And then the judges also asked by the competition, what was your tactile experience? And that's it, man. These are two categories. And it's very basic, simple categories, but extremely difficult because you have to know the coffee so well that you can describe that experience to your judges and they're getting that experience, meaning that you have to have so much understanding and control over your coffee that you can deliver that experience in a consistent level and one that you know they will experience because you know the coffee that well, if that makes sense. And then, of course, functional correct vessel used, like, can you drink out of it? Yes or no? Like, and this is a simple ACF, standard espresso cup. If you use something like this, absolutely, there's no way you're going to get a no for that. All right. I guess that's it for now. If you have any questions about the competition, about the qualifying rounds, or if you're one of the competitors that wants to compete, they're competing against me, that's fine too. Ask questions. I'll tell you whatever I know, whatever I think. And in case you may not know me, I have been a judge now at the world levels for, 15 years. So I bring that level of experience as well as competition experience here. And I'm not necessarily looking to win. I'm just enjoying myself. And I've got some ideas for a signature drink that I think will be kind of fun to present, that I've been wanting to present for a long time now. So I'm working on that. But if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments down below. And look forward to seeing you next time. So until then, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. And Happy New Year and all that. See you next time.